Hey Changemakers, it's Julia Chow. Welcome back to this channel. Last week I posted a video called How to Ruin a Copycat Woman Socially Elegantly, and I had so many questions. So this video is going to be about addressing some of those follow-up questions because I know that it will help you become more socially elegant with whatever challenges that you're dealing with right now. If you haven't watched the video yet, I'm going to link it up here. Go take a look because it's going to provide a lot of context and help you make sense out of the lesson that's coming in this video. I'm going to pick two specific questions that I got in the last video and address the answers in this video. The first question was, what happened? Did your network recover? Was she too greedy and disrespectful to maintain or attain success from her theft? So many questions. So I'm going to answer that commenter's questions. And then I have another commenter asking, I'd be interested in your take dealing with those who have stolen from you and crossed over your boundaries, and you're explaining this to other people who might be less emotionally intelligent. In that case, rather than just sticking to the facts, which they may not be able to grasp the essence of the situation, is it better to offer up more of your own perspective on how this person has behaved towards you? Great question. I'm going to address this one too. Let me just quickly recap. The general gist of the video that I posted last week had to do with a woman that I was coaching in my group coaching. And she decided that it was easier for her to, rather than using organic social media to get new clients, which was what I was teaching them, she thought that it would be much easier for her to tap into my network and start poaching clients from my network. What I forgot to mention in my last video was that she also would start telling people what to do in my group, which contradicted a lot of my teachings. So then I had to find ways to shut her down in that area. So there were many nuances of bad behaviors that was happening. And when I look back now, I was too much of a good girl back then. What I really had to do was to kick her out. Now, the problem was that she had a personal connection with me. I met her in my personal life. And unfortunately, this can make it a little bit more challenging because that person knows you. They have access to your personal life in ways that a client that I normally have, which are people that I've never met, that we only focus on working on their business issue, for example. It's a bit of a different relationship, and there was a bit of a friendship before we started working together, so that made it also more challenging. It makes it more challenging when if since that I had kicked her out, then I'd have to deal with her in my personal life because she was in that network. So there are some nuances that I didn't mention in the last video. It can be relevant in this video. The biggest issue is that she started taking my clients and it started to create a mess. She was also telling clients things that I wouldn't advise him to do because it certainly worked for her, which is also a bad professional boundary breach. Just overall, she had bad professionalism. She had never worked in a work environment, in an office-like setting where there were more than, let's say, maybe 6 to 8 or maybe maximum 10 employees. In her profession, it wasn't like a typical corporate setting. So she lacked a lot of professional skills, and with that comes a lot of underdeveloped areas, what we would call immaturity. It's just lack of professionalism. So in some part, I thought that maybe she just doesn't have the experience, never had the opportunity to develop those areas. So I was trying to help her do that. But again, when the person is so unconscious and they're very ego-driven, they don't understand that they're being taught to elevate. Instead, they may see that as an attack or challenge, or see it as that coach doesn't understand me. So I could certainly feel like some of that was happening, and I could definitely feel a part of condescension that was coming through, possibly to do with how she saw herself or tried to see herself as better than or more superior to me. We can't coach people who have that. We cannot. Because the first place where a person has to be when they want to be coached, they need to be humble. They need to have a beginner's mindset. They have to be open to receiving. So I certainly saw a lot of different nuances of problems that I didn't quite address in the first video. Just didn't come up, or now I'm really diving into this topic. I think it's going to be more relevant in this video. Now we're talking about unconsciousness. We're talking about a woman who's patriarchally brainwashed. Later on, I saw that this woman, after all of that had happened, the problem that had happened, had gone and invested on a weekend coaching experience with a male coach. And from what I know, being in this industry for so long, that male coach, he runs his business like a cult. And a lot of people had lost money, didn't really get results. It's a very abrasive environment. And that weekend experience is around $2,000, $3,000-ish. So she had no problem investing there, but I remember her just being an energetically, emotionally hard sell. She had a really hard time believing in my professionalism or believing in a possibility. That's how I interpreted at the time. Because again, everybody has like their limited bubble, and that's part of the reason why you invest in a coach, because the coach can open up the limitation and widen it, and you can see the possibility. So I thought it was maybe about that, and it could be about that. But what I did see is that, wow, you had a really hard time investing $1,500, which was the pricing I gave her. It was highly subsidized because I again knew her, and this is something I completely advise against for all business people. You know somebody's your friend, do not give them discounts, because you invite disrespect. They feel entitled not only to your knowledge, experience, wisdom, taking everything that they can get, but they feel entitled to take much more, as in steal from you and start selling that themselves, taking your intellectual property. So when you try to do something that is nice to somebody, that often comes across like permission to be socially aggressive or actually aggressive, or to steal from you, seeing you as less than. So there's a lot of development in that area. But what we do want to address is that somebody comes with those kinds of symptoms. So you need to observe people in their character through those behaviors, and rather than seeing them from the perspective of I want to think highly of this person, I want to see them as a good person, I want to see them as, oh, they didn't mean that, or they had other motivations. You have to see them for how they're making you feel. You have to see them from their perspective of, okay, that's just immaturity. Immaturity and narcissism, they go hand in hand together. It's not just immaturity. It's not just lack of professionalism. If you are pushing 40, you need to know better, and you need to approach the person from that perspective, and that creates accountability. And when you do, the wrong people will fall out of the circle. So the first question I want to address is, did your network recover? It didn't, because I didn't want it to recover. It wasn't a desire. I noticed that people in that network, they tend to fall for her. And that already says something to me. That means I didn't do a good enough job to curate a kind of environment with the type of people who are capable of taking on what I have to offer. That was before I started posting more triggering content. The reason why you guys may be here is because of my content on capitalism, patriarchy, racism, power hierarchies, and power dynamics. I wasn't addressing that type of content so exclusively back then. And so the type of people I got were spiritual bypassing people, toxic positivity people. So that circle tend to be full of those people. And of course, with those symptoms, people who tend to think that way, they're going to have bad boundaries, low professionalism, all of which that makes them very vulnerable to fall for traps, easy traps, when it comes to somebody even slightly manipulative. Somebody who can make themselves look bold or come across like they're assertive, but deeply it's their way of masking their low self-confidence and low sense of self. So when I observed that, I realized I really wanted different types of clients. When I saw that, wow, if the group can break because of this one bad apple so easily, that I'm obviously not calling in the right people. So for that reason, I chose not to recover that network, but some people from that group did reach out to me because they were more so aligned with my work, and I just allow that to be. And it's important, if you've been in a situation like this, that you need to let go of needing to control people. You need to put yourself out there as you want to come across and how you want to be seen, and then you have to allow people to come to you, and that's exactly what I did. So then that ties into the second commenter's topic of what do you do when you're explaining this to people who might be less emotionally intelligent? Well, that's exactly what we do, is that we want to put ourselves out there, how it is, be factual. And if somebody doesn't have capacity to understand that, you just have to allow them to be. They're on their journey. It is not your job to change people. However, there is a strategy that you can implement. You want to ask them questions directed towards their experience. So for example, if someone thinks, sure, you can learn something from your coach and take it away and sell it, that shouldn't be a problem, then I would direct that question as like, oh, really? Do we want to turn the table towards that person? Okay, let's say that you're the one who developed this formula or developed this way of getting results, and now someone else came in and learned from you, and they believe that, okay, this seems to sell, there are a lot of people in this group, this person has a lot of students, I'm gonna go and do the same thing without your permission, and that person starts taking people from your group, would you be okay with that? How would you feel? So when you turn the question and it's no longer is something happening to somebody else, but if it's happening to you, then people who have low emotional intelligence are able to relate. Another example of how this works, let's say that somebody has a really hard time understanding racial microaggression. If I'm dealing with another woman who has a hard time seeing people of color or their experience or from races that are not theirs, they may have a hard time relating, oh, well, why is this microaggression? I don't understand. Like, why is this offensive? That's low emotional intelligence right there. I often will take whatever that person can relate to, whatever they've experienced in their life, and tie a parallel to that. How I do that is I would take, okay, you experience male privilege and entitlement. Let's say a man says these things about women. How would you feel? Then the light bulb goes off. What you want to refrain from doing is telling that person how they should think and feel. That's not socially elegant. That is anti-leadership. And even though your intention is to convince that person or help them see something, you're not going to do that. The moment you start to push these ideals, they're going to have resistance, more resistance, and it's going to be counterproductive when it comes to educating that person. If your goal is to truly help the person see, to elevate themselves, and if that person is actually open to it, that's the key. Not everybody is open to expanding their consciousness. Not everybody is open to growing their emotional intelligence. So the willingness has to be there. And when somebody's willingness is there, then of course you can help them understand by tying it to different experiences that they may have had that is a parallel. It's important that you do not try to control people in front of you, because that for you is anti-power and that's socially inelegant. It will backfire on you. It will make you look like the problem and no wonder this happened to you, that sort of thing. You want to avoid that. You also want to avoid that person getting really badly triggered, going to other people and turning them against you. Trying to control or push people to see something will often have that kind of effect, and that's why you have to approach it from a perspective of centering that person, their experiences, and helping them see it through connecting this event that you want them to understand to an event or experiences that they've had where they felt powerless or less privileged. You want to shift the narrative to center them, because low emotional intelligence is naturally tied to narcissism. When people can center themselves in a conversation, then they're much more able to understand. They can grasp it better. That's how you want to approach the topic. Now, I want to address the rest of the first commenter's question. Was she too greedy and disrespectful to maintain and attain success from her theft? We're talking about somebody who is fragile, cannot handle the truth. We're talking about somebody who obviously doesn't believe in her talents enough that she has to steal from somebody else and have no qualms about it. So the answer is that people like that, they are unable to create real success. They can only create copy. So then it becomes this parasitic experience where that person, if they're not copying, they're not able to get to the next level up. They're not able to level up. So the answer is, from my perspective, she's not successful at all. She still has her day job. I know this because, like I mentioned, she has to renew her license every year for continuing education, whatever, and that's public and I can see it. She still has her day job because she's been renewing it every single year. Second, with that kind of mindset that she has, she's not going to be able to take on true leadership and be a successful businesswoman. In order to have a strong business mindset, you need to understand capitalism, patriarchy, racism. You have to understand how the world works and how people work, people's deep psychology, human motivation, human nature, how we make decisions, how the world turns and how the economy works. If you do not want to see those things because it's too dark or too difficult or too triggering to address it, then you can't play the game because you do not know the rules. You're just kind of stabbing and trying to see, like, okay, let me see if this works or that works, throwing spaghetti on the wall. It doesn't work. So look at her Instagram, it's mid. It's still like very vanilla and trying to inspire people, but people aren't, it's just not giving. And then try TikTok, like two or something posts and then giving up. it takes consistency. It takes a lot more than just throwing content out there. And the throwing content out there or posting content is only a small fraction of what it actually takes to build a business like this. So the answer is, I didn't have to do anything. That person doesn't have capacity and doesn't really understand what else they need to improve, or can't go there possibly because of the fragility. Being socially elegant pays off. It's not only about understanding how the world works and understanding how people work. It's about developing yourself to prevent problems, to resolve conflict, increasing resilience, so that you can handle the stresses and the pains that come with leveling up. Leveling up isn't like a destination where you get there and all your problems disappear. You want more money, you're gonna have to have more resilience. You're gonna have to be a much more of a responsible person, because that's what money is. It's more power, means that you have to be capable of managing it and handling it. Otherwise, even if you get all the things that you want right now, like a lottery, you're gonna lose it all, because your mindset, your level of maturity is what makes you the person who can handle it and grow it. That's why social elegance training is so important for you. Before I forget, if you haven't been following me on Instagram and TikTok, please go follow me there, because I post a lot of good content there. And right now I have a contest happening there. You have to go to the first pinned post on both of the platforms and you will see it. So enter the contest to win all of my books, a YSL lipstick that I always wear, this color right here, and a golden pen that you can do the Bad Bitch Metamorphosis journal with. So to win that package, you gotta go and check me out on Instagram, TikTok, first pinned comment in each of the platforms. Also, if you'd like to do further on social elegance training, you just got a tiny little bit of the taste of what we do in our Unleash coaching program. If you're interested in that, please go down to the comment section down below. Go join the Social Elegance Masterclass. When you watch the masterclass, there's a link to Social Elegance Accelerator. When you go and take that accelerator program, you get to see more of what's coming. If this feels right for you and you definitely would like to learn more about power dynamics, and how to be socially elegantly navigate the world of power, then you can book a 15-minute call with me or with my team to see if the next round of the Unleash program is the right fit for you. Thank you so much for watching, Changemakers. Thank you for being in this space. All you courageous, brave souls here who are willing to talk about the difficult conversations that we all need to have to conquer and dominate your life and career, owning your bad bitch journey. It's Julia Chia. See you in our next video.